वेरी गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। कैसे हैं सब लोग? फोर्थ क्लास ऑन इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट चैप्टर एंड नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू कंप्लीट टुडे ऑल द रूल्स रेगुलेशन एंड देन नेक्स्ट टू क्लासेस would be completely on the practical aspect of the input tax credit chapter. ठीक है. Very good evening to all. Let me start the rule 39. What was discussed that input tax credit, how to distribute the ITC by input service distributor that we were discussing. And then in that case, we have discussed that section 20, section 21, if excess credit has been transferred, then what to do. Then now we are reading the rule 39. What is the rule 39? Rule 39 regarding the procedure for distribution of ITC by input service distributor. So now we are talking about the process. ISD shall distribute the ITC in the manner and subject to the following condition, namely the input tax credit available for distribution in a month shall be distributed in the same month and the details thereof shall be furnished in the GSTR 6 in accordance with the provision of this chapter 8 of these rules. So chapter 8 basically talking about the GST returns. Clause B says that ISD shall, in accordance with the provision of the clause D, which we have discussed in the yesterday class, that they will distribute the ITC in the formula which has been given. So no, sorry, we are going to discuss in this particular clause D, separately distributed the amount of ineligible ITC as per 17.5 or otherwise and the amount of eligible ITC. So the clause B say that you will distribute, ISD will distribute the eligible as well as ineligible ITC both. Now you may ask, sir, what is the benefit of distributing the ineligible ITC? What is the benefit of distributing ineligible ITC? Now I'm talking about the practical part, which might not be relevant, but the point which I'm going to discuss will help you in enhancing the knowledge concept regarding the GST. Let's say ISD is located in Mumbai, Maharashtra. Okay. And the branches is in, let's say, Rajasthan, and branches is in Delhi, branches is in Haryana. One point is clear, they have to transfer the eligible credit. They have to transfer the eligible credit to all the unit, all the GST number or of that PAN number, all the distinct, all the branches. Why to transfer the ineligible credit? Because if they transfer the ineligible credit, and ineligible credit means the recipient would not be able to take ITC. Will the recipient would be able to take ITC? Answer is no. There is a concept of IGST settlement. There is a concept of IGST settlement between center and state. This is clear, na? Because if IGST is being collected, it will be distributed between center and state. Correct? And how the ITC to be distributed based on the place of the supply. Normally, when the transaction is B2C or registered to UIN entity or registered to composition dealer, then we can say the chain is completed when I am making the sale to, let's say, you, and you are not registered. Then the chain is broken. ITC chain will not be continue. In that case, you being unregistered person or UIN or composition, you cannot take the ITC. So whatever the tax I have charged, it will be distributed between the center and state. Now this is for the sales part. Now I'm talking about for ITC part. This part I have explained with respect to IGST settlement on outward supply. Now, IGST settlement on ITC. What is the meaning? See, if there is IGST, but that IGST is not eligible. Suppose, let's say I have purchased a motor car. I have purchased a motor car from another state, or I have incurred the expenditure of construction, whatever the which we have discussed in the 17.5, on which ITC tax has been charged as IGST. Can I take the ITC? Answer is no. That IGST would be a portion between center and state. Again, I am telling you the theoretical part, this part is not in your syllabus because it is conceptual point, which I am explaining. So might be it will help you in terms of understanding the knowledge or in terms of your practical aspect during articleship, etc. The logic why this ineligible credit to be distributed. If ineligible credit have IGST, then it will be distributed between center and state. Now, if they will transfer from Maharashtra to Rajasthan, then 50% of that will goes to Rajasthan. 50% of that IGST will goes to Rajasthan, will goes to Delhi, will goes to Haryana. And that is the benefit, so that in case of the IGST settlement for outward supply, I have explained, but for ITC of IGST, it is being divided between center and state. State, which state? The recipient state who are not eligible to take ITC, then that ITC would be distributed among center and state means recipient state. So that is the main logic why the ITC of eligible but as well as ineligible to be distributed by the ISD to the recipient branches. I hope it is clear. If I quickly confirm. Let me go again. Then they are saying the input tax credit on account of CGST, SGST, UTGST, IGST shall be distributed separately in accordance with the provision of the clause D. Let's read to the clause D. So we are having the reference of the clause D. What is the clause D? Clause D says that ITC that is required to be distributed in accordance with the section 20, subsection 2, clause D and E. Let me go to the clause D and clause E of the section 20, subsection 2. What is that? It says that credit of taxes paid on input service attributable to more than one recipient of the credit shall be distributed among such recipient to whom the input service is attributable. The credit of the taxes paid on input service attributable to more than one recipient of the credit shall be distributed among all such recipient to whom the input service is attributable, and such distribution shall be on the basis of the turnover in the state. We will take the total turnover of all the recipient and multiplied by the turnover of one particular recipient to whom we are transferring the credit. The input tax credit that is required to be distributed to one of the recipient, say R1, whether registered or not, from amongst the total of all the recipient to whom the input tax is attributable. So not all the branches to whom that ITC to be distributed, including the recipient who are engaged in making the exempt supply or otherwise not registered for any reason, shall be how much ITC to be distributed? They have given the formula. What is the formula? The formula is C1 multiplied by C multiplied by T1 divided by T. T means turnover, total turnover of all the recipient. T1 is the recipient to whom the ITC to be distributed, and C is the total amount of the credit which need to be distributed. C is the amount of the credit which need to be distributed, and T1 is the turnover as referred in section 20 of person, that is R1, during the relevant period. And T is the aggregate turnover, all the recipient to whom the ITC of input service is attributable in accordance with the provision of section 20. Now clause E, the input tax on account of IGST shall be distributed as IGST. But if the input tax is on account of the CGST, SGST or UTGST, shall be distributed in which manner? They are distributed in respect of the recipient. If he is in the same state, then C and S will be transferred in the C and S only as input tax of central tax and state tax. But if it is located in the different state, then like I have given the example from Maharashtra to Rajasthan, then if Maharashtra unit has any ITC of C and S in the ISP registration, then it will be distributed as IGST, and amount to be so distributed shall be equal to the aggregate of the amount of ITC of center and state that qualify for distribution to such recipient in accordance with the clause D. Let's read once again. It says that in respect of the recipient located in the state other than that of the input service distributor, they are ISD and the branches are in the different state, then it will be distributed IGST. That is okay. And amount to be so distributed shall be equal to the aggregate of amount of the ITC, C and S that qualify for distribution for such recipient in accordance with clause D. So whatever we are calculating the amount to be distributed as per the clause D, what is the clause D? C multiplied by T1 divided by total T. So that will be equal to the ITC which need to be distributed. Then it says that input service distributor shall issue the invoice according to the rule 54 sub rule 1. So there is a content requirement that how the ISD invoice should be have the parameters, should have the content. It has been given in the rule 54, indicating in such invoice that is issued only for the distribution. What is the content? We will discuss. Then input service distributor shall issue. So let me go to the rule 54 sub rule 1. Okay, and we will come back on this page once again, 90, correct? So IST need to issue IST debit note or credit note in accordance with the rule 54. What is the IST invoice or IST credit note must contain the following information. What is the content requirement? It says that name and address and GST number of IST and recipient of the credit. Conjugated serial number not exceeding 16 character, one or multiple series or any combination thereof for a particular financial year. Date of issue, amount of the credit distributed, signature of the IST or his authorized representative. What is the relaxation for the bank and FI? If the IST is the banking company or financial institution or NBFC, document need not be serially numbered, not necessary. And so again, let me go back to the page number 90. So that is clear to all regarding the parameter which is being prescribed in the rule 54 sub rule 1. Now next rule, the input service distributor shall issue an input service distributor credit note. Why? As prescribed in 54.1 for reduction of the credit in ITC if already distributed extra. So we have discussed yesterday, if ITC has been discussed extra, then it has to be reversed. So reversal would be based on the credit note. So ISD, for transferring the credit, they will issue the they will issue the document, ISD document, based on which branch will take the ITC. And if they have excess transferred, then they will take back by way of credit note. It says that any additional amount of ITC on issuance of the debit note to an ISD by the supplier shall be distributed in the manner and subject to the condition which has been specified in clause A to clause F. And amount attributable to any of the recipients shall be calculated in the same manner as per the clause D of this rule. And such credit shall be distributed in the month in which debit note is included in the GSTR 6. Okay. This is debit note, and next is like an input tax credit required to be reduced on account of the credit note to the ISD distributor by the supplier shall be apportioned to each of the recipient in the same ratio in which ITC contained in the original invoice was distributed in terms of the clause D. So any ITC required to be reduced on account of that head office ISD has received the credit note from the supplier, then it will be apportioned in the same ratio which we have used for transferring, for distributing the original credit. Then reduced from the amount to be distributed in the month in which the credit note is included in the return, or if it is negative amount. So suppose, for example, Rajasthan, I have distributed 1,000 extra, but in this month I have to reduce 1,000, but there is no positive amount to be distributed to Rajasthan 1,000. In that case, then net would be the negative. If it is negative, then they are saying, please add in the output tax liability of the recipient where the amount so apportioned is in the negative by virtue of the credit note under distribution being less than the amount to be adjusted. If the amount of the ITC distributed by an input service distributor is reduced later, or on for any other reason for any of the recipient, including that it was distributed to a wrong recipient by the ISD, the process specified in the clause J will apply. For same process will apply for the reduction of the credit. Subject to sub rule 2, the ISD shall on the basis of ISD credit note specified in the clause H issue an ISD invoice to the recipient entitled to such credit and include the input service distributor credit note and the ISD invoice in the GSTR 6 for the month in which such credit note and invoice was issued. So this is the process of ISD. Simple, I think. I hope there is no confusion. You can read this detailed analysis, which we have also spent good amount of the time. Now let me talk about the important practical aspect of this section 49, subsection 5. What is the section 49, subsection 5? Before reading the provision, let me ask you one question, because you all are CA final student. Suppose I have the tax liability. Of IGST nil, CGST 20,000, SGST 20,000. You have to solve one practical question. And you have the input tax credit in I, let's say 20,000, in C 40,000, and in S 40,000. Or you can reduce that amount, let's say 15,000, and in S, let's say it is 10,000. So let me again tell you that total tax liability is nil in the IGST. Total tax liability in the CGST is 20,000. Total tax liability in the SGST is 20,000. I have the ITC 20,000 in IGST and in CGST, I have the, let's say 20,000. In SGST, I have the 20,000. In each head, I have 20,000 ka ITC and I have the tax liability. You tell me, to discharge the liability of C, to discharge the liability of C, will the ITC of CGST to be taken first, or will the ITC of IGST to be taken first? My question is, जब ये 20,000 का लाइबिलिटी है सीजीएसटी का, तो इस लाइबिलिटी को डिस्चार्ज करने के लिए आई पहले कंट्रीब्यूट करेगा या सी से पहले आईटीसी लूंगा? दैट इज माय सिंपल क्वेश्चन. यू ऑल नो द आंसर. जस्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ रिवीजन आई एम आस्किंग. काइंडली गिव द आंसर. To discharge the liability of CGST, CGST will take the amount first from CGST or first from IGST. Please note, IGST does not have any tax liability. It has ITC. It has only ITC of IGST rupees 20,000. So when C need amount and C का ITC has also 20,000, I का ITC has also 20,000. So my simple question that whether I will contribute first or C will contribute first. Okay, so fine. I will not give the answer right now. Just I'm asking same question, that for liability of SGST, will the SGST ITC to be used first, or will the ITC of IGST should be used first? Let's say it has 1 lakh rupees. The ITC under IGST is 1 lakh rupees. So he has the sufficient amount. My question is, SGST has the liability of 20,000. To discharge this liability of 20,000, will the amount to be taken from S first or from I first? That is my question. Very simple question. In the same line, the question which was I have asked for for CGST, it has the same question and asked with respect to SGST. Geeta Kalidas Patel, you have written for both I. First I, then I. So is it first S, then I, or? So fine. Kindly confirm that you mean to say first SGST, then IGST, or you mean to say first IGST, then SGST? I have received from rest of the participant. तो एक बार गीता कालिदास पटेल कंफर्म कर दे, तो फिर हम बात करते हैं. राइट आंसर हैज बीन गिवन बाय प्रेरणा कोचर. सबसे पहले आईजीएसटी खत्म होगा. इट मीन्स we need to finish IGST first. We need to finish IGST first. In both the situation, you have to take the amount from I. You cannot use the ITC of the CGST. You cannot use the ITC of SGST till the time the ITC of IGST is being exhausted. Let me repeat once again. You have the liability of C. You have the liability of S. You have the sufficient ITC in all the head. As per the new provision, section 49 capital A, 49 capital B, rule 88A and circular 98. Combining all the provision, if I combined all the provision, then liability of C or liability of S should be discharged from I first. If I does not have the sufficient balance, then only you can go to the C or S respectively. We all know that C and S will never give to each other. Now the concept of any order, any proportion, any manner. What I'm reading, section 49A, section 49B, rule 88A and circular 98. I am combining all the four provision and telling you the things. IGST, while distributing to C and S, see, first it will goes to I. I will distribute first to I. Then it will goes to C or S. For distributing between C and S, the concept of any order, any proportion, any manner will apply. It means if I like to distribute 50% to C, 50% to S, well done, no problem. 10% to C, 90% to S, no problem. Nothing to C, entire to S, no problem. Completely to C, nothing to S, no problem. It can be any order. It means first they can give to C or nothing to S or vice versa. They can give any proportion. They can give any manner. Only condition, the IGST का ITC should be 0. IGST का ITC should be 0. Then only you can use the CGST ITC for CGST tax liability और SGST का ITC for SGST का tax liability. Is that clear? I hope it is clear to all. I hope it is clear to all. Now when I will explain, then it will have the more clarity. The provision will have the more clarity. In the next, let's say I'm asking one question. You have the sufficient balance in the CGST ITC. You have the sufficient balance in the CGST ITC. Now, you have the tax liability in IGST. You have the tax liability in CGST. So, CGST, there is no liability. There is no ITC in IGST. There is no ITC in IGST. IGST का ITC 0 है. My question is, when CGST has sufficient ITC, what could be the order? First, they will give to the CGST liability, or first they will give to the IGST liability. And this is my liability, and this is my ITC. My question is, CGST has the ITC, then ITC first will goes to the CGST liability, or first it will goes to the IGST liability? That is my question. See, all this question, before starting the discussion, before reading the provision, I'm explaining so that when we will read the provision, we will have the ample clarity. if CGST has ITC, to whom he will give first? C and then I, or first I then C? How the ITC to be distributed by CGST when IGST has the tax liability, CGST has the tax liability, then C ka ITC will be given to whom first? The answer is it will give first to the CGST ka tax liability. Just giving one example or just giving one thing that we are thinking to give the donation when we are donating the money, when we have the sufficient amount to discharge the liability of my own house, correct? Normally, if I need to give the amount to others, so I will ensure that my liability is completely exhausted, my liability is not there, then I will give to the others. Same concept would applies here. I have ITC, first it will go to the ICA liability. C has the ITC, first it will go to the CCA liability. S has the ITC, it will goes to the SCA liability. Now, if there is any excess balance, then it will be apportioned. It will be distributed to the other. In which we have discussed one thing, that if I and C both have the ITC, then first ICA ITC to be used for C and S. Try to understand. This point I have discussed that when I has the ITC. Second question I have discussed when I has the liability. Try to differentiate. मेरा पहला पॉइंट एक्सप्लेन करने के टाइम पे क्या था कि आई के पास आईटीसी है पर आई का लाइबिलिटी नहीं है. सेकंड क्वेश्चन में मैं क्या एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूं, आई का लाइबिलिटी है बट आई के पास आईटीसी नहीं है. ठीक है. When I does not have the ITC, they will take from C, and C also has the liability, then they will take from C. So question is, who will donate first? Answer is C. When I have the ITC, I have the tax liability. Obviously, I will give the amount first to I, and if excess, then it will goes to C and S. Any order, any manner, any proportion. Remember that word any order, any manner, any proportion is for transferring the ITC of IGST to the liability of C and S. कहीं पे लिख लीजिए, कहीं पे लिख लीजिए. Any order, any manner, any proportion का फंडा will apply to distribute the credit of IGST to the liability of C and liability of S. You might apply this concept somewhere else, then you will be wrong. किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन है तो बताएं, otherwise let me start the section 49. If you have any question, then tell me, otherwise I will start the. एक मिनट में मोबाइल स्विच ऑफ कर देता हूं, गलती से चालू रह गया. Let's read the rule. Section 49. Payment of tax, interest, penalty, and other amount. Only subsection 5 we are discussing right now. Amount of ITC available in the electronic credit ledger of registered person. Amount of ITC available in the electronic credit ledger on account of IGST. So they are saying ITC kiska? IGST ka. Shall first be utilized toward the payment of obviously I, and the remaining, if any, shall be given to C and S in that order. So currently they are talking about first it will go to C, then it will go to S in that order. This order has been changed by section 49A and by section 49B by rule 88A. See, when you read the section 49 subsection 5, it appears that I will give first to I, second to C, and third to S. Absolutely correct. But when I explain, I have explained by combined reading of all the provisions we are going to discuss. Then if CGST has any input tax credit, it will be first utilized toward the payment of CGST, and remaining, if any, may be utilized toward the payment of IGST. I have discussed this also. Same funda would be applies to S, so I am not reading. So S has the ITC, then S ka ITC will be given to first whom? S ka liability. And if any, then it will goes to I ka liability. Proviso is important. It says that if I need the amount, इस बार क्या है? IGST का liability है. Then they will take first from I, second from C, third from S. Please do not apply the concept while taking the ITC from others by IGST. IGST का ITC distribution का जब बात आता है, then it is being distributed between C and S in any order, any manner. But when the situation is different, C and S ka ITC is being required by I ka liability, then there is an order. First, it will be taken from I, then from C, and S will give only when the balance in C is exhausted. This is the proviso, provided that ITC on account of the state tax shall be utilized toward the payment of I, only where the balance of on account of CGST is not available for the payment of I. So C अगर जीरो है तभी S I को देगा. Confusion काफी हो गया होगा probably. Let me read all the provision and then we'll do the revision once again. We'll try to take certain examples also. Then clause D is basically for UTGST. So it is exactly similar to the SGST, not reading. CGST and SGST or UTGST cannot be utilized. C will not give the ITC toward the payment of S, or S will not give the ITC toward the payment of C. Now section 49A. It says that utilization of input tax credit subject to certain conditions. Okay. Notwithstanding anything contained in section 49. Now the 49A is overriding to section 49. 49A is basically made with non-obstant clause. Non-obstant clause, it means it can override the section 49. The ITC on account of the CGST, SGST, UTGST. ITC on account of the CGST, SGST or UTGST shall be utilized toward the payment of I, C, S as the case may be, only after the ITC available on account of integrated tax has been utilized fully toward that payment. Let me read once again very slowly. ITC of C or S shall be utilized toward the payment of I, toward the payment of C or toward the payment of S. So if I has the liability, C has the liability, S has the liability, they will all take from I first. जब तक I पूरा utilize नहीं हो जाता, you cannot use the ITC of CGST and ITC of SGST for making the payment of any head. पहला point. Now, section 49B. Order of utilization of ITC notwithstanding anything contained in 49 subsection 5 clause E and clause F. What is the clause E and what is the clause F? C will not give to S or S will not give to C. Correct? They are saying anything contained in this chapter and subject to. So that condition would prevail. 49 subsection 5 clause E and clause F would be available. It means C and S can never give to each other. But otherwise, it is overriding. It says that government on recommendation of the council prescribe the order and manner of utilization of ITC. ITC on account of I, C, and S toward the payment of such tax. Now they are saying 49B is saying that government can prescribe the order and manner. Whenever the word prescribed is there, it means there would be some rule. So for that, there is a rule 88A. For what purpose the rule is required? To decide the order and manner of utilization of ITC. It can be in any head. ITC can be in any head, but they are saying order and manner of utilization can be given by way of rule. What is the rule? Let me first go to the rule 88A. Input tax credit on account of integrated tax shall first utilized toward the payment of I. So it has given the order of utilization of IGST. It says that if I has the balance of ITC, it will be used toward the ICAI liability first. And if remaining any amount, remaining means ITC of IGST, then it may be utilized toward the payment of C. It may be utilized toward the payment of S in any order. So it has given only order. Order appear that instead of first I will give to C, I will give to S or vice versa. But they have not used the word proportion. So how the proportion would come? कि 10% इसको 90% इसको दे सकता है. कैसे आया ये वर्ड? ये वर्ड आया सर्कुलर 98 से. Provided that input tax on account of the CGST and SGST shall be utilized toward the payment of IGST, toward the payment of CGST, toward the payment of SGST. As the case may be, only after the ITC on account of integrated tax has been utilized fully. So it says that CGST and SGST ka ITC you will use only when IGST ITC is fully exhausted. I hope it is clear. Let me ask one simple example. Let me ask one simple example to all of you. Again, this is IGST ka liability, let's say nil. CGST ka liability, let's say 20,000. SGST ka liability, let's say 20,000. I has the ITC of 20,000. C has the ITC of 15,000 and S has the ITC of 10,000. My question to all of you, you calculate and tell me, which head I need to pay the tax in cash. So, do I need to pay the cash of CGST? Do I need to pay the cash of SGST? Or I'm not required to pay the cash in any of the head. Second question, what would be the closing balance of any of the head in the ITC? मैंने आपसे दो क्वेश्चन पूछा है कि ये आपकी लाइबिलिटी है और ये आपका आईटीसी है. First, you have to tell me that which head I need to pay the liability in cash. Second question I have asked that what would be the closing balance of the input tax credit in each of the head. ये आप मुझे, you take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but give me the answer. Closing balance of the ITC headwise and tax liability to be discharged in cash headwise. That is 2 questions I have asked. Waiting for your reply. you all have to tell me the two answer. Kitna cash I have to pay in cash and how much ITC would be there. How much ITC would be there in each head? Hmm. Okay. C0, S0, and I5. Tell me one thing. I'm asking one question that is there any possibility that ITC under IGST would have some balance? Is it possible that ITC under IGST would have some balance? Is it possible that ITC under IGST would have some balance? Is it possible that IGST, ITC have some closing balance? Not possible. Not possible. Not at all. Because what we have discussed, let me again read that proviso. Let me highlight this proviso. It says that ITC on account of the CGST and SGST shall be utilized toward the payment of I, C or S only after ITC available in IGST has been first utilized fully. Meaning thereby, till the time you will not exhaust 20,000 for any of the head, you cannot use C, you cannot use S. No. It means the I should become 0, then only you are utilized or you are allowed to use C ka ITC and S ka ITC. Is that clear? That uh, is that clear ना कि I का ITC का बैलेंस हो ही नहीं सकता क्योंकि I का अगर ITC में बैलेंस है तो ये तो यूज ही नहीं कर सकते. So the first point that it has to be fully exhausted. It will be nil. Now, tell me, this 20,000 would be given entirely to C or is there any option? My question is, this 20,000, there is no liability in I. This 20,000 would be entirely given to C or there is some option. मेरा क्वेश्चन बड़ा सिंपल है कि आई के पास जो 20,000 है वो पूरा का पूरा सी को देगा और उसके बाद एस को देगा या यहां पे कुछ ऑप्शन है? आंसर इज ऑप्शन है. सर वेयर इट इज रिटर्न? Go to that particular rule. Rule 88A says ITC on account of integrated tax shall first utilized toward the payment of I and the amount remaining, if any, may be utilized toward the payment of C and toward the payment of S in any order, in any manner, in any proportion. Because Circular 98 has used the word any proportion, I can say that now I can distribute in any order, in any manner as per my choice. It means I can give 20 0 possible, 0 20 possible, 10 10 possible, 5 15 possible. I can give any amount between C and S, but the only purpose that I should be 0. So क्या हो गया यहाँ पर? So in this case, I can say that it can be distributed half of, or in such manner that I should be use ITC effectively so that minimal amount of the cash to be deposited. Is this possible if I divide 10-10? Possible, sir. If I will use in this manner, why I have divided 50-50? Because in that case, C need 20. 10, it will be taken from I. Then balance 10 can be used from C. Similarly, S need 20. They have taken 10 from I. Then balance 10 can be used from SGST ITC. In this case, nothing to be paid in cash. And the closing balance would be CGST 5,000 and nil under IGST, nil under SGST. Or vice versa can also happen. It means, let's say, second example I'm saying, second possibility, there could be any possibility. Let's say I have given 5 to C and 15 to S. Is it possible? Yes, possible. In that case, C ka liability is 20,000. 5 they have taken from I, so the balance they can take from C. In that case, it becomes 0. S ka liability is 20. 15 they have taken from I. In that case, they will take from own house only 5. So in that case, the balance would be 5 in SGST. So it is possible. Or you can use like 7 and 13. That is also possible because any word, any manner, any proportion is there. So you can use in any manner. Then closing balance of the ITC could be different, but my only point that it would be 0 and it should be 0 to the extent possible. क्लियर हुआ सभी आप सभी लोगों को? इज इट क्लियर टू ऑल? एक बार कंफर्म करो. इज दैट क्लियर टू ऑल? ठीक. फाइन. ठीक. ठीक. नाउ लेट मी again draw the one simple question. IGST has the liability of 5,000. CGST has the liability of 5,000. SGST has the liability of 5,000. Correct. Then IGST, ITC. ITC in I is 0, C is 5, S is 5. My question to all of you, in which head I need to deposit the amount in cash? In which head I need to deposit the amount in cash? Suppose I taken from C, let's say, then in this case, I have to deposit 5,000 in CGST. Second possibility, that 5,000 they have taken from S. In that case, the 5,000 ka liability would come in the SGST, or They have not taken from anybody, then IGST has to be paid in cash. So my point is, it could be possible that there is 2-3 answer or only one answer. मेरा क्वेश्चन आपसे है कि अगर इस टाइप का परमुटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन है, एवरी हेड हैज ओनली 5000 का आईटीसी under C and under S. IGST does not have any ITC. Every head has the liability of 555. Now I know that total is 15,000 का liability. Total ITC is only 10,000. So 5,000 we need to deposit in cash. So my question is, in which head I have to deposit? Is it possible that there could be 2-3 answer? Why I am saying so? Because in the last question, I have asked that is it possible that there could be 2-3 answer? Yes, possible. In this manner, I am asking the question to all of you. In this question, is it possible that there would be only one answer, or there may be the 2-3 answer if I will apply the concept of any proportion or any order, any manner? Then मेरा क्वेश्चन आप लोगों से ये है कि कौन से हेड में मुझे लाइबिलिटी पे करना पड़ेगा, एंड is it possible that there could be the multiple answer for this question? ठीक है, I have seen the answer. I am not commenting whether you have given the correct or incorrect answer, but first respond to my another next question. The concept of any order, any proportion, any manner will applies to which ITC? Is it applying the ITC of C to be distributed between ICS? Is it applying the ITC of S to be distributed between ICS? Is it applying the IGST ITC to be distributed between ICS? Is it applying the liability of I to be taken from ICS ka ITC, where this concept of any order, any manner, any proportion will apply? In exam, every answer is right because I'm using the concept of any order, any proportion, any manner. I'm giving the answer, giving the reply to the Kirti. Wow. Please tell me that which the concept of any order, any manner, any proportion will apply where? Remember always, when IGST ka ITC to be distributed between C and S. You cannot say कि IGST की ITC के डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के ऊपर ये कॉन्सेप्ट लगता है, गलत हो जाएगा आंसर. When you are distributing the ITC of IGST, then this concept would apply. Again, it would be answered wrong because we have to give the IGST credit to the I ka liability first. Then when the manner would be applied, any order, any manner, when I ka ITC to be distributed between C and S. When I ka ITC to be distributed between C and S, then only the concept of any order, any manner will apply. बहुत बढ़िया, मोहम्मद अब्दुल, absolutely correct. And the way you have used this point now when distributing the ITC of I to C and S, that is really appreciable, remarkable reply. Because if I'm using the IGST ITC, I can say larger extent you are correct, but not 100% correct. When you 100% correct, if you are saying that when we are distributing the ITC of IGST between C and S, because first it will go to I, there is no denial, and it will first priority. And second priority, you have the choice of any order, any manner, any proportion. You have the choice. So please be careful. Okay. Now, the answer to the question which I have asked, that in this case, because C will give first to C, C will give first to C. S will give first to S. So the balance would be C0, S0. Then I has to be deposited in cash. That all participant is given the correct answer. Now think about this situation. CGST has 20,000 ka liability. SGST has 20,000 ka liability. IGST, CGST, SGST. IGST is nil. C has 20,000. S has 20,000. I know that C can distribute entirely to C, S can distribute entirely to S, and there is no liability to be paid in cash. Correct. Now my question is something different. Is it possible that I do not like to use completely the balance of C? I do not like to use completely the balance of S ka ITC. Is it possible that I can pay in cash instead of using the entire ITC? Can I discharge the liability in cash instead of using the ITC? Can I discharge the liability in cash? I have the balance in the IGST, but I do not like to use. Why? I'll give you the answer after this question. You might say, sir, why one will pay in cash instead of ITC? I'll give you the answer. But before that, I'm asking the question, is it possible or not possible? Is it possible that instead of using the amount of ITC, can I use the cash and I will keep some balance in the ITC? Is it possible, or mandatorily I have to pay first from ITC, and if is there any shortage, I can pay in cash? That is my question. Now the answer is, it is possible. Sir, why one will use the cash instead of ITC? One reason is Rule 86 capital A. One reason is Rule 86 capital A. What is that rule? Let me go to that particular rule. Rule 86A, sorry, 86B, I'm talking about 86B, not 86A, sorry. Restriction on use of the amount available in the credit ledger. In the GST, this is only ruled where there is some restriction on ITC that you cannot use for discharging the liability You have to pay 1% in cash. When? If my total outward and taxable, not exempted, taxable supply is exceeding 50 lakhs. It says that if my total outward taxable supply, not tax, total outward taxable supply is more than 50 lakh, then 1% of liability, let's say the liability is 5%. So I can say 25,000 is my total liability. And out of this liability, 1%, that is 250, I have to pay in cash. Rule 86B says, notwithstanding anything contained in this rule, registered person shall not use the amount available in the credit ledger toward the output tax in excess of 99%. It means they can use maximum 99% ITC, but 1% has to be discharged in cash. Why or when? In case when the value of the taxable supplies other than exempt, other than zero rated. What is the zero rated? Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of zero rated? Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of zero rated supplies? Can anybody tell me? What is the zero rated supply? On which GST is zero? On which GST is zero? No, 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 no. Zero, sir, GST rate is zero for this supply? No. The word zero rated supply has been defined in GST. The word zero rated supply has been defined in the GST. There are only two supply which is called as zero rated. There are only two supply which is called as zero rated as per section 16 subsection 1 of IGST Act. It says that zero rated supply means export and supply to the SEZ unit or developer. It means if the supply has 0%, that is exempted. That is not taxable supplies. That is exempted. So what is the meaning of zero rated? It means export and SEZ. Always remember this word. Is exceed 50 lakh rupees. So what is the amount? The amount is exceeding 50 lakh rupees. Then in that case, this person has to deposit 1% liability of tax in cash. And that is the reason I have asked the question first. Is it possible that you may use some amount of cash even though you have the sufficient balance in the ITC? Possible. If it could not be possible, then how the rule 86A can be applied in the GSTN portal? How the rule 86A can be applied in the GSTN portal? It means when the rule 86A will be applied or is applicable, it means You have the sufficient balance of input tax credit. You are not required to discharge anything. But by compulsion of rule 86B, sorry, I'm again using 86A, 86A. No, sorry, I'm so sorry. Because of the compulsion of 86B, that I cannot use ITC 100%. I can use maximum 99%. So in that case, it is possible. So therefore, my answer is yes. Without using the ITC, I can pay the liability in cash. Government would be more happy because they need the cash. Is it clear? Let me move the exception when the 1% would not be applicable. We'll read the exception when the 1% will not be applicable. If the said person or the proprietor or karta or managing director or any of its two partner, full-time director, member of the managing committee of association or board of the trustee, as the case may be, have paid more than 1 lakh rupees as income tax in each of the last 2 financial years. Which financial year to be taken into account? For which the time limit to file the income tax return has been expired. Suppose I am sitting in the month of April 23. I will not take into account the financial year 22-23 because the time limit to file the return of 22-23 is not yet expired. If I'm sitting in the month of April, let's say, I will take into consideration last 2 financial year excluding 22-23. Now, the registered person has received the refund. The registered person has received the refund, okay, of more than 1 lakh rupees. Here also they are saying more than 1 lakh rupees they have received the refund. In the clause B, they are saying 54 subsection 3 clause 1. What is that? In case of the zero rated supplies against LUT without payment of IGST. So the export chapter, again, I am going to take the export chapter. We will discuss in the export chapter or SEZ. You have the 2 options to make the supply of export. You have the 2 options to make the zero rated supplies. 2 options. You pay the IGST and take the refund of IGST. Second option, you can file the letter of undertaking, then no requirement of payment. If you have furnished a letter of undertaking and then you are not required to pay the IGST, no IGST is to be paid, then also you can take the refund of accumulated ITC. This provision has been given in the section 54, subsection 3, clause 1. And this particular provision has been given in the rule 96. This proviso, a proviso to this rule 86B says, if you have taken the refund of more than 1 lakh in the preceding financial year on account of unutilized ITC, it means you are making the zero rated supplies. You are making the zero rated supplies under LUT. It means without IGST. If you are not paying the tax, then which refund would be allowed? Accumulated ITC or unutilized ITC का refund मिल जाएगा. Registered person has received the refund of more than 1 lakh in the preceding financial year. And here they are saying clause 2 of the first proviso of the 54 subsection 3. What is that? Let me explain. Section 54 subsection 3. I have to explain a bit about this part. Section 54 subsection 3 says that I will not give the refund of any ITC except two situation, clause 1 and clause 2. 54 subsection 3 says that I will not give the refund of any input tax credit. Then proviso says that yes, it is allowed only in two clauses, clause 1 and the clause 2. What is the clause 1? The clause 1 says that supply of zero rated supplies under LUT. Zero rated supplies under LUT. So this point is clear. If I am making the zero rated supplies under LUT, I can take the refund of ITC. Mil jayega refund. Second is inverted duty structure. Can anybody tell me what is that inverted duty? Can anybody tell me what is that inverted duty structures? Can anybody tell me what is the inverted duty structure? What is the inverted duty structures? Inverted duty structures is, no one know? Refund का chapter आपका income इंटर में नहीं था ना? Refund was not there in the inter, right? Inverted duty means if my rate on input is higher than rate on output. Not output, I'm using the word outward supply. If my rate on input, let's say 12%, and rate on output is, say, let's say 5%, then government is saying in the second clause of the proviso to the 54.3, government is saying you are entitled to take the refund of ITC. So there is a formula given in the rule 89 sub rule 5, which we will discuss if it is applicable, and I have been allotted to explain the topic of refund. I'm not sure, but the formula etc. has been given, but I'm talking about the refund of ITC is allowed in two situations. Apart from that, you cannot take the refund of ITC. Let's say A is doing the business. He has expired. Son like to continue that business. Can he take the refund? No. A has transferred the business to B on a going concern basis. Can B take the refund or A take the refund? No. A has expired and B like to sold that business. Refund? No. A has no sale because of the COVID, but has huge purchase, huge ITC, working capital is blocked. Can he take the refund? No. In any situation, ITC ka refund is not permitted except in these two categories. What are the two categories? If you are making the zero rated supplies under letter of undertaking. Second, because of the rate structure is such that you are paying the higher tax on input but lower tax on output supply. It could be like, let's take an example of construction work. Suppose I am a government contractor. Okay. Then I am purchasing the cement at 28%, but my output supplies, let's say 12% or 18%. In that case, my duty structure is under inverted duty, I can go for the refund. No harm. Then clause D says that registered person has discharged the liability toward the output tax through cash ledger for an amount which is excess of 1% of the total output tax liability applied cumulatively up to the settlement in the current financial year. Let's say I'm sitting in the month of November GSTR3, October GSTR3B. I'm sitting in the month of November. In April, in May, in June, in July, in August, in September, there was lesser ITC. Because of that, I have discharged some portion of the liability in cash. In any of the preceding month, my outward supply is not more than 50 lakh. My ITC has some lesser amount. As a result, I have discharged the liability in cash, not because of 86B, otherwise. Now, in the month of October, my total taxable sale is more than 50 lakhs. Then, will I have to pay 1% in cash? They are saying if you have already discharged 1% cumulatively up to the current month, so I will add total liability. I will calculate 1%. If I have paid 1% already in cash cumulatively, so this I have to 1% I have to check cumulatively. Please note, up to current month of the current financial up to current month. Then again, this provision 86B would not be applicable. Correct? And last is if the registered person is government department, public sector undertaking, local authority or statutory body. Then again, 86B will not be applicable, provided that commissioner or an officer authorized in this behalf may remove the said restriction after verification and safeguard as he may deem fit. So this can be relaxed. So let me take a break of 15 minutes. We will resume at 9:40 or 9:20. Sorry, 7:25 or 7:40. We will resume. We will resume at 7:40. If you have any question, we can discuss and then we will start the balance part of the chapter. So we are resuming at 7:40. Ashokji, you can start the break for 15 minutes. Now we are reading the rule 86A, which talks about the condition of use of the amount. Which amount? Which is available in the electronic credit ledger. So 86A basically giving the power that giving the power to the officer, they can block the ITC for 1 year. It means if they have blocked the ITC for a period of 1 year, it that taxpayer cannot use the ITC for the payment of the liability. When they can block, it says that credit of ITC has been availed on the strength of tax invoice or debit note or any other prescribed document as per the rule 36 issued by the registered person. Which registered person? Who has found to be non-existence or not conducting any business from any place for which registration has been obtained. Issued by the registered person who has found to be non-existence. So supplier is not existing or is not conducting the business from the place which he has declared. Then they are saying without receipt of the goods or services. So only fake invoicing. Only invoice are there. Only invoice are there. Not the receipt of goods. Then credit of input tax has been availed on the strength of tax invoice, debit note, any other document as prescribed in the rule 36 in respect of any supply, the tax charge which has not been paid to the government. So this basically is condition 16 subsection 2 clause C, if you remember. The tax has been paid by the supplier to the government. Okay. The registered person availing the credit of input tax has been found non-existent. So in the clause A, we have discussed the supplier is not existence. Here they are saying the recipient is found to be non-existence or not conducting the business from the place declared. E, the registered person availing the input tax is not in possession of the tax invoice or the debit note or any other document prescribed under rule 36. So the registered person availing the credit of input tax is not in the possession of the tax invoice or the debit note. So he is taking the ITC, but he does not have any document. So basically this is the condition 16(2)(a). He should be in the possession of the tax invoice. Then this condition is 16(2)(c). Correct. This condition is 16(2)(b). It is 16(2)(b). It is 16(2)(c), and the bottom is a 16(2)(a). So I can say the three conditions are same as per the 16 subsection 2. Rest of the condition are being extra. But what happens if this is the if someone has satisfied the condition, then what? May, for reason to be recorded in writing, not allow the debit of amount equivalent to such credit in electronic credit ledger for discharging of the liability under section 49 for claim of any refund of unutilized amount. The commissioner or the officer authorized by him under sub rule 1, if satisfied that condition for disallowing the debit of electronic credit ledger above is no longer exist, then he can allow the debit. Second, this will automatically cease to have effect after 1 year. So it means blocking of input tax credit can be maximum for a period of 1 year. Now they have divided the amount wise designation. It means rule 86A ka power has been apportioned or has been given to the different tax officer depending upon the liability or ITC. They are saying if amount of the ITC, ineligible ITC is not exceeding 1 crore, then deputy commissioner or assistant commissioner has the power to disallow the debit in the ECL as per rule 86A. 1 to 5 crore, then additional commissioner or the joint commissioner. 5 crore and more than 5 crore, principal commissioner or commissioner. Check. So now we have completed the theory except rule 43. Let me go to the rule 43. And then now we can spend next 2 days completely on practical aspect of the income tax credit capital. I will spend complete time on the various practical question answer of ITC. Let me discuss the last theoretical part, that is rule 43. What is the rule 42? Can anybody tell me what is the rule 42 and what is the rule 43? Difference between rule 42 and 43, and tell me when this rule 42 would be applied. What is the difference between rule 42 and 43 and when the rule 42 would be applied or 43 would be and 43 would be applied? कब मैं अप्लाई करूंगा 42 और कब मैं अप्लाई करूंगा 43? And thank you so much, Viraj, Aniket, Prerna. Everyone has given the correct answer for the inverted duty structure, the point which I have asked. Prior to taking the break. Yes, Prerna, I was using rule 86A. Right. It should be 86B. Rule 42 is for input and input service and rule 43 for capital goods. यूज का मतलब क्या हुआ? क्या मतलब वो यूज? मुझे कब यूज करना है? And why I am required to use? So this answer is correct. 42 on input and input service and 43 on capital goods. Absolutely correct. मेरा क्वेश्चन आपसे क्या है? कब यूज करना है? क्यों यूज करना है? Why I should use this particular rule? Why I should use these particular rule? Like you are saying input and input service, apply the 42. For capital goods, apply the 43. Why? I'm asking why. Give me the reason why we should use the rule 42, 43. Why there is a compulsion to use the rule 42, 43? Because Because I am using the ITC for two purposes, business and non-business as per 17 subsection 1, or I am having the taxable as well as exempt supply. Right, Viraj? You should use the word input and input service instead of revenue and capital goods. And capital goods instead of capital expenditure, right? Absolutely correct. Input and input service in capital goods. Why? Because these three terms are being defined in the GST. ITC can be on input, can be on input service, and can be on capital goods. So you have to use these three terms only whenever I'm saying that what is the difference between 40 to 43. So because I am making some exempt supply, I am making some taxable supplies. I'm making some taxable supply and I'm making some exempt supply, and there is common ITC. So I can take the ITC to the extent of taxable supply. So I need to reverse my ITC to the extent of exempt supply. How to reverse? That formula has been given in 42 and 43. Difference: 42 is for input and input service, 43 for capital goods. What can we identify? We can identify the amount of the ITC which I need to reverse. That's it. Okay. Step number 1. Determine the common credit on capital goods as under. ठीक है. Identify the input tax on capital goods intended to be used exclusively for non-business purpose or making exempt supply. Identify input tax on capital goods used or intended to be used for non-business purpose or making exempt supply. Because such amount will not be credited, I need to reverse that credit. We have discussed this part only now. If I am using for non-business purpose 17 subsection 1, and if I'm using for exempt supply 17 subsection 2, then I am not allowed to take the ITC to that extent. Identify input tax on capital goods used or intended to be used exclusively for making taxable supply and including zero rated supplies. ठीक है. So I'm using, I am identifying the एक second. So first I'm determining the credit which is used for non-business or exempted. I will not take the credit. Identify the input tax on the capital goods which is used or intended to be used exclusively for making taxable supplies. Then supplies and declare the same in the GSTR 2 and 3B, and such amount will be credited to the electronic credit list. We have discussed that GSTR 2 is no more, and we have to credit only in the 3B. Identify the input tax on capital goods not covered under clause 1. It means exclusively for non-business, exclusively for exempted, and not covered in the clause 2. It means exclusively for taxable. That is capital goods which are used or intended to be used commonly for making taxable as well as exempt supply, and business purpose and non-business purpose. And denote the same as A. Such amount will be credited to the electronic credit ledger. Useful life of the such capital goods will be taken as 5 years from the date of invoice. ठीक है. Change from exclusive use for non-business purpose or exempt supply to the common use. They are saying if capital goods which were initially covered under clause 1 and get subsequently covered under the clause 3. So exclusively non-business, now it has been shifted to the common purpose. The credit in respect of the same denoted as A in the electronic credit ledger. ठीक है. Simultaneously compute the ineligible credit attributable to the period which during which such capital goods were used for the non-business. Simultaneously compute the ineligible credit attributable to the period. Which period? During which such capital goods were used for the non-business or making exempt supply. कैसे calculate करना? 5% per quarter. And denote the same as TI, ineligible. I stand for ineligible. Add such TI to the output tax liability in which credit on such capital goods is claimed. ठीक है. So here, what we are doing, the credit which are covered from which are converted, which capital goods earlier which was using exclusively to the non-business or exempt, now it is being used commonly. तो मैं क्या करूंगा? दो काम करूंगा. First, I will take the ITC in A as A, and also I will calculate ineligible credit. ठीक है. Add together the amount of A credited to the credit ledger in respect of the common whose life remain during the tax period to arrive at the common credit. Okay. What is the TC? Common credit. Now they are saying change from exclusively of taxable to the common use. Now again there is a shift from which was initially covered under the clause 2. Now it is covered in the clause 3. It has been shifted. The input tax claimed in respect of the same to the aggregate value of the TC. Now they are saying determine the common credit during the useful life of the capital goods for a tax period as under and denote the same as PM. M means monthly. So it is a total credit for life is 5 years. So I have divided by 60. It means it is equivalent credit of 1 month. A portion common credit attributable to the exempt supply as under. Again, E by F multiplied by TR. E is exempt supply and F is the taxable supplies. E is the exempt supply and F is the taxable supply. We have discussed same formula in the rule 42 also. Aggregate value of exempt and F is the total turnover. TM is to be computed during the useful life of the capital goods, which is 5 years from the date of invoice. TM is to be computed during the useful life of the capital goods, which is 5 years from the date of invoice. If the registered person does not have any turnover during the said tax period, the value for the last tax period may be used. Exempt supply include reverse charge supply, transaction in security, sale of land, sale of building. Entire consideration is received after CC and supply the warehouse goods. We have already discussed the meaning of exempt supply as per 17 subsection 3. That value we will take here. Outward RCM, transaction in security, and para 5 and para 8A of the schedule 3. So this is nothing but the para 5 and this is nothing but the para 8A of the schedule 3. Hence Here, exempt supply will exclude, I can say, the interest and also MEIS or SEIS duty credit is correct, which we have discussed in the vessel, transportation of goods by vessel. Aggregate value of exempt supply and total turnover. Exclude the central excise duty, state excise duty, CST, and VAT. Amount of TI and TE in eligible credit and eligible credit are to be computed separately for CSI and declared in the 3B. Value of the exempt supply in respect of land building is the value adopted for paying the stamp duty, and for security it is 1% of the security. Now add TE to the output tax liability along with interest during every tax period for the useful life of the capital goods concerned. What is the TE? TE is the amount which you have calculated for the purpose of reversal. You need to reverse that particular amount. So that reversal is to be added to the output tax liability. But yes, the requirement is you can do the reversal also. That is same thing which we will discuss practically in the next class. Okay. So now at this stage, I have completed entire ITC chapter. Now we are moving one by one on the practical aspect. Let me start with the first example. Give me 1 minute, please. Illustration 1. So you have illustration 1 in front of you. Now kindly active. You can treat the same as a revision also. Give me only 1 minute. I'm just taking the water. I'm just taking water. Allow me 1 minute only. Meanwhile, I request everyone kindly read the question and give the answer in the chat. आप ये क्वेश्चन रीड कीजिए और मुझे बताइए कितना एलिजिबिलिटी है, हाउ मच इज एलिजिबल टू टेक द आईटीसी एंड विच प्रोविजन, by which provision he is eligible only to some extent, not completely. That is my question. Illustration is in front of you. Kindly do not see the answer. Try to read the question and give the answer. जी, क्या आंसर है आपका? Whereas if professional purchase the laptop worth of 140, can he claim the ITC? Yes. Capital goods means every goods which has been capitalized. Let's say you purchase the plant and machinery, you are capitalizing. That become capital goods. You purchase the furniture, Capitalize. The furniture become the capital goods. You purchase the computer, capitalize in the books of accounts. It become capital goods. Every goods movable, which is capitalized in the books of accounts, that is capital goods. And every goods other than capital goods is called as input. Now let's read the question. Vijay, a registered supplier, received the 100 invoice involving GST 10 lakh rupees. Out of 100, details of 80 involving 6 lakh have been furnished by the supplier in the GSTR 1 filed on the prescribed due date. Therefore and are reflecting in GSTR 2B of Vijay. Compute the ITC can be claimed by Vijay in its GSTR 3B for the month of October to be filed by 20th November, assuming the GST of 10 lakh is otherwise eligible. Otherwise eligible means all other condition of like invoice has been there, goods has been received, multiple, all the condition are there. Only just because this is exception. What is the answer and why this is the answer? What is the answer and why this is the answer? That is my point, which you need to explain. Only Aniket has given the answer, yeah. What happened to others? Viraz, Prerna, Abdul, Kirti. Kindly give the reply. The answer is 6 lakh. Why? Because of 16 subsection 2 clause double A. Why? Because of 16 subsection 2 clause double A. So, if I read the 16 subsection 2 clause double A, it says that it should appear in the GSTR 2B. 16 to double A, read with rule 36.4. It says that corresponding invoice should appear in the GSTR 2B, then only we can take the ITC. So out of 100, only 80 are appearing 6 lakh. So it is allowed. 4 lakh is not allowed because 16 to A ka condition has not been satisfied. You can read this particular condition. Illustration number 2. Now kindly explain. PQR Limited, a registered supplier of Bangalore, is a manufacturer of the goods. That company provide the following information pertaining to the GST paid on inward supply during the month of April. In the month of April, they are saying, life insurance premium paid by the company for the life insurance of the factory employee as per the company policy. There is no legal obligation for insurance of the employee. Can he take the ITC or not? Give me some reason. Please do not say yes or no. Please quote some reason why he would be allowed or why he would not be allowed. आप मुझे एक्सप्लेन पर करोगे, रीजन के साथ रीजन शॉर्ट लिखो, लेकिन क्या होगा इससे? ये बेनिफिट होगा दैट यू आर एबल टू कोट दैट पर्टिकुलर रीजनिंग इन द एग्जाम्स. If you can give the answer, then only I can move further. If I request everyone, please give the answer. Please be active in the chat. Can I take the insurance ka ITC or not? So you will say we are not allowed to take the ITC of insurance. Why? According to 17 subsection 5 clause B, subclause 1. The life insurance and health insurance are falling under block category except when it is obligatory to provide to an employee. The question says that there is no legal obligation. It means it is not covered in the exception. So therefore, ITC would be blocked under 17.5B1. Is it clear? Raw material used for which invoice is missing but delivery challan is available. Invoice missing hai but delivery challan available. Can you take the ITC? Can you take the ITC if the delivery challan is there but invoice is not there? Can you take the ITC? The answer is according to 16 subsection 2. First clause, there has to be the invoice. First clause A, it says that invoice has to be there. If invoice is missing, you can't take the ITC. So you cannot take the ITC of life insurance. You cannot take the ITC of that particular. Raw material purchase which are used for zero rated supply. So normally we can say the ITC would be available for zero rated supply. What is the zero rated? We have discussed that export and SEZ supply are zero rated. And as per, you should write this, as per 17 subsection 2, the zero rated supply is considered as taxable supply. So ITC would be allowed. Work contract service used for repair of the factory building, which is debited in the profit and loss account. So ITC would be allowed or not allowed. यहाँ पे एक important point क्या है कि it has been debited to the profit and loss account. So what would be your view? Will the ITC be allowed or not allowed? Will the ITC be allowed or not allowed? If you remember explanation to the clause D of section 17 subsection 5 clause D, it says that construction of immovable property means to the extent of capitalization. Because it is debited to the P&L, it means it is not capitalized. So therefore, ITC is allowed. Company purchased the capital goods for rupees 4 lakh and claimed the depreciation of 44,800 on the full amount 4 lakh and इसके ऊपर tax 48,000. Total depreciation which has been claimed as 44,800. Tell me whether ITC of the 40,000 would be admissible or not, along with reason. Will the ITC be available or not available? The answer is because he is charging the depreciation on the full value. 16 subsection 3 says that if you're charging the depreciation on the tax part also, because it is a taxable value, but depreciation is not 40,000. Depreciation is 44,800. Why? Because they've claimed the depreciation on full amount. Therefore, the ITC of the 48,000 is not available. 16 subsection 3 of CGST Act. What is the other information? In the month of the September of previous financial year, currently which we are in the month of April. So September of previous, PQR Company Limited availed the ITC of the 2,40,000 on purchase of the material which was directly sent to the job worker premises under the challan on 25th September. So we know that if the goods or capital goods are being sent directly to the job worker premises, we can take the input tax credit, no problem. So we means principal. Suppose vendor, my supplier, has raised the invoice to me. I'm a principal, but the goods are being directly moved to the job worker. Then I principal can take the ITC. So the 2,40,000 ka ITC he could claimed in the month of September, no problem. Now the said raw material has not been received back from the job worker up to 30th April. If you read section 143, section 143 and rule 45, you will understand that capital that input should come back within a period of 1 year, and capital goods should come back within a period of 3 years. So when you read the provision related to the job work, you will understand the input should come back within a period of 1 year and capital goods should come back within a period of 3 years. Come back means because it has been sent to the job worker, so the job worker should return this input within 1 year or capital goods within 3 years. And now there is a proviso which talks about 1 more year ka extension can be taken from the commissioner, and in case of the capital goods, 2 more year ka extension can be taken. In that case, if the goods or if the input or capital goods is not coming back within a period of 1 year or 3 years or within the extended time period as approved, then this will be treated as deemed supply according to section 143. Now, please see the date of sending the goods, 25th September, and we are talking about April. Whether 1 year ka time limit has expired? No, it is not expired. So the ITC is correctly taken in the last year, no problem. And because 1 year has not been expired, it will not create the liability in my hands. My means, me means, who am I? Principal. So this point is not relevant, but you have to explain the concept in the exams. All the above inward supply, except serial number 3, have been used in the taxable goods, and serial number, inward supply in serial number 3 above has been used in the manufacturing of exempted goods. So serial number 2 and serial number 3. So serial number 2 basically is talking about, serial number 2 is basically talking about raw material purchased for which invoice is missing but delivery challan is available. Obviously, we can't take the ITC. Why? Because you do not have the invoice. Raw material which are used for zero rated supply, now they are saying it is used for exempted item. Now, what do you say? Can we take the ITC or not? Here, I like to highlight 16 subsection 2 of IGST. Point to be noted. See, normally we are reading the provision of the CGST Act, but because of this question, only for this point, exempted item but exported, ITC status, 16 subsection 2 of IGST Act says that you can take the ITC of inward supplies even if you are exporting exempted item. Very specific point that export of exempted item, you are entitled to take the ITC. and compute the amount of the net ITC available with PQR company for the month of April, which with the necessary explanation for the treatment of the various items as per the provision the CG subject to the information given above. Assume that all other conditions are satisfied. So answer, life insurance का ITC not available. ठीक है, रॉ मटेरियल का आईटीसी नॉट अवेलेबल. रॉ मटेरियल यूज्ड फॉर जीरो रेटेड इवन इफ इट इज exempted item, it is available. Work contract, it is available because it is debited, not capitalized. Capital goods, because depreciation has been claimed on the entire value, it will not be allowed. And goods sent on job worker, 1 year ka time limit has not expired, so it will not create any liability in the hand of the principal. You can read the notes. Notes are very beautifully written. Let's read together. ITC on the life insurance is available only when it is obligatory for an employer to provide to its employee under any law for the time being in force. Since it is not obligatory, therefore ITC not allowed. Second proviso to the section 17(5)(b). So I have told you to add, if time permit, that normally the ITC of the life insurance or health insurance is blocked in subclause 1. But yes, as per the second proviso, it is allowed because if it is obligatory. Hence, in the question, because it is not obligatory, so therefore it will fall under the block category. ITC cannot be taken because invoice is not there. Delivery challan is not a valid document to avail the ITC as per Rule 36. Within bracket, you can write 16 subsection 2 clause A. So point to be noted, here we are talking about CGST, but here we are talking about IGST. ITC can be availed for making zero rated supply, notwithstanding that such supply may be exempted supply. ITC is blocked on the work contract service when supplied for construction of an immovable property. However, the construction include only to the extent of capitalization. In the case, since a repair is debited to the profit and loss account, the same is not construction as per the meaning of 17(5)(c) and 17(5)(d). So ITC is available. ITC is not available when the depreciation has been claimed on the tax component of the cost of capital goods under income tax. In tax component of the cost of capital goods, because here the cost was 4 lakh and tax was 48,000, and making the total, the depreciation has been claimed 10%. So because the depreciation has been claimed on the taxes part also, so because you have taken the benefit under the income tax on this 48,000, you are not allowed to take the benefit under the GST as ITC. Double benefit is never allowed. The principal is entitled to take the ITC of input sent for job worker even if the goods are directly sent to the job worker. However, where said input are not received back by the principal within a period of 1 year of the date of the receipt of input, then it shall be deemed that such input has been supplied by the principal on the day when the said input were received by the job worker. Hence, the ITC taken to the by the PQR in the month of the September last year is valid, and since 1 year has not been elapsed in April, so there is no tax liability. Now I need one point from each one of you. Is this way to solve the practical problem is okay, or you have some other expectations? मैं आपसे एक point पूछ रहा हूं. Is this way to solve the practical problem? Because we are going to discuss a lot. We are going to discuss a lot of practical problem in this manner because we have the complete two classes on this chapter. So Tuesday and Thursday, we are going to discuss in detail and every most various practical case study. So is this way is okay? Or if you have some other expectation, I request everyone to write in detail so that I can fulfill your expectations. So by this, probably we can revise the entire ITC chapter also, I can say in this manner. Uh, yes, this way is fine. Okay. Requesting everyone to give the input. Is this way okay? Or you have some other expectation? Kindly tell me in detail. But yes, by this way, we can say in the next 2 days, Tuesday and Thursday, we would be able to complete the entire chapter once again by way of practical problems. ठीक. Thank you. Example number 3. Siddhi Limited is a registered manufacturer engaged in the taxable supply of goods. Siddhi Limited purchased the following goods during the month of January. Following particular are provided by the company. Okay. Which month we are talking about? January. Capital goods purchased on which depreciation has been taken on full value. On full value, including GST. Can we take the ITC? Please tell the section number. If possible, please tell the section number. ठीक है. Thank you, Aniket, Prerna, Muhammad, Abdul, and everyone. Definitely, I will use the whiteboard if I need to explain some concept. I will definitely use the whiteboard. So the answer is 16 subsection 3 of CGST Act talks about if capital goods has been purchased and you have taken the depreciation on full value. Full value means taxable plus tax GST both. Then no ITC because just now we have discussed double benefit could not be allowed. Goods purchased from Ravi Trader. Invoice of the Ravi Trader is received in the month of January, but the goods were received after 2 months in the month of March. Can we take the ITC in the month of January? Answer would be no. Why no? Go to the 16 subsection 2 clause B, where we have talked about that goods or services should be received. If you receive the invoice, okay, You have satisfied the condition of the clause A of 16.2. You have satisfied the condition of the clause A of 16.2, but if you receiving the goods 2 months later, it means the condition of the clause B is not satisfied. So therefore, you are not allowed to take the ITC in the month of January, but yes, you are allowed to take the ITC in the month of the March. Here, I am trying to cover the some related areas at the same time, even if this question is not asking. You tell me, if the goods is not actually received, when I can take the ITC, even if the goods are not actually received, still recipient can take the credit. Still the recipient can take the credit. So let's say Mr. A, who has received the invoice but not received the goods, but still he can take the ITC in one situation. What is that situation? Please be active on the chat, because I will not only solve the question which we are covering, but whenever they are touching any provision, I will ask some related question near to that particular provision. So currently the question is on the 16.2b, but I have asked one counter question based on the proviso to that or explanation to that 16.2b. The answer is absolutely correct. Bill to ship to model, it will be deemed to be received. It will be deemed receipt when, if it is bill to ship to model. Very nice, Muhammad Abdul Rahim and Prerna Kocha. Really appreciate it. Try to give the reply in this manner. The problem which we are doing, that will be solved. Also, some more question related aspect will also be covered. In this manner, I will try to cover both practical part as well as some of the quick round of the question in this particular illustration itself. Okay. Next point. That car purchased for further supply of such car. Such car is destroyed in accident while being used for test drive by the potential customer. Oh my God. Tell me one thing. Can I take the ITC if the car is purchased for further supply? Can we take the ITC if the car is purchased for the further supply? Can we take the ITC if the car is purchased for further supply? The answer would be yes, I can take the ITC if the car is purchased for further supply. 17 subsection 5 clause A ka exceptions. It is covered in that. Now, if the car is destroyed in accident while being used for the test drive, can you take the ITC? Normally, Car is under the block category. Normally, the car is under the block category, but if it is covered in the exception, what is that exception? Further supply. What is that exception? Further supply, na? Further supply of that car. So, in this clause A, we have discussed some exception. Please tell me any two exception. We have discussed certain exception that we can take the ITC. What is my question? My question is when you can take the ITC of the motor car. My question is when you can take the ITC of the motor car, at least 3 point you should give the 3 point, at least 3 point minimum, bare minimum 3 points. When I would be allowed to take the ITC of motor vehicle? That is my question. Uh, Transportation of training bus. बहुत बढ़िया निकेत, absolutely correct. Niket, I have received your answer. Very nice. When the ITC of the car is allowed, when the ITC of the motor vehicle is allowed. First, if it is more than 13 seaters. Second, if it is used other than for the passenger, for the person, like transportation goods, ITC allowed. Third, if it is covered in the three exception, further supply, training, and transportation of passenger. So these are the total five exception. These are the total five exception wherein you can take the ITC. But so therefore, the first point, because if it is used for further supply, you are allowed to take the ITC, no harm in that. But at the same time, it is saying that it is destroyed. It means ITC, if the goods are lost, stolen, destroyed, right of disposed of by way of the gift or free sample, because of 17 subsection 5 clause H, we can't take the ITC. So by one part it is allowed, but another part ITC not allowed. Another part ITC not allowed. Correct? So thank you so much for your active participation. Very nice. Prerna, Viraj, Mohammad Abdul Rahim, Aniket, everyone are correct. Next is goods used for the telecommunication tower. Can you take the ITC? If yes or if no, in both the cases, please give the reasoning. Reasoning is important. Can you take the ITC? Answer would be yes or no. Please substantiate your answer with reasons. Please substantiate your answer with reasons. Can you take the ITC of telecommunication tower? The first point, Viraz, make it clear whenever the capital goods is there for taking, there is no 5% concept. Only for reversal, the 5% per quarter or life of the 5 year is only for the reversal. In the last yesterday class, we have discussed in detail Rule 40 sub Rule 2 and Rule 44 sub Rule 6. If I am purchasing the telecommunication tower, can I take the ITC? It is blocked because tower is not plant and machinery. Very nice, Prerna. The telecommunication tower, see, you have to mention the 17.5C and 17.5D. Correct. You will say the goods or services which is or work contract service other than plant and machinery. But in the bottom, the plant and machinery exclude the telecommunication tower. The plant and machinery not including the telecommunication tower. It means telecommunication tower. If you have used the goods for the telecommunication tower, setting up the telecommunication tower, which is not the plant and machinery, so ITC would be blocked. Truck purchase for delivery of finished product, whether ITC would be allowed or not. ITC would be allowed or not. Truck purchase for the delivery of the finished goods, finished product. It is not doing the business of the transportation of goods. It is own goods for which he has purchased the truck. Can he take the ITC or not? Can he take the ITC or not? Aniket, absolutely correct. Prerna, correct reply. Viraj, correct reply. I'm talking about the last question. Okay, for telecommunication tower. For this question, I'm yet to receive the reply. I received the reply from Viraj. Absolutely correct. So ITC is not blocked for transportation of goods. It is not necessary that goods should be others. Try to understand this concept. Let me go to the one very interesting discussion. Hope it may be useful for clarifying the concept. Sorry. My point, which is related to this question only, but I am adding the explanation. I am adding something for you. Now they are saying following taxable supply, but they have used ABC, but they have not used clause D. Clause D means, let's say, they have not used transportation of goods. They have not used transportation of goods. But in the second vessel and aircraft, it is saying that transportation of goods. Second point, the first question is, which I'm clarifying right now, why in the clause AA they have specifically talking separately of the transportation of goods, but not in the clause 1. Point number 1, which I will clarify. Point number 2, why not it is added as a clause E? Why it is a separate clause? My two question, if anyone like to add, I will wait for 2 minutes. Very important question, very deep question I'm asking. The first question, in the clause A, they have given three exception, but this exception does not include transportation of goods. Whereas in the clause AA, they have given the separate exception as the transportation of goods. Why not in A? Why not in A? It is there in AA. Why not in A? First question. Second question, instead of adding here as a separate subclause, they have added additionally the new clause or new subclause unit. I'm not saying why they have not added this as a point number E, why they have added as a serial number 2. Two question, very important, very interesting. I will wait for 2-3 minutes. नहीं, transportation of goods for vessel and aircraft is not blocked. Let me repeat once again. It is saying that vessel and aircraft, except when you are using for transportation of goods, that is also allowed. If you are using for the transportation, it is covered in the exception. So if vessel and aircraft is being used for the transportation of goods, allowed, ITC allowed. My question is, why they have not given separately in the clause A? Why they have given the separately in the clause AA? Next question, why not as point number A? Why it is point serial number 2 separately? The answer that no as transportation of goods for vessel and aircraft is blocked. I'm not satisfying this answer. So please repeat, please add something else. So I'm saying, so you are correct. Transportation of goods in the clause A is also allowed. In the clause AA is also allowed. तो मेरा ये कहना है वहां पर उन्होंने क्यों नहीं लिखा क्लॉज ए में why they have not mentioned transportation of goods, but in the clause AA they have mentioned separately. Why there is a disparity? Even the result is same. Result is same means you can take the ITC. If the motor car is being used for the transportation of goods, you can take the ITC when vessel and aircraft is being used for the transportation of goods. In both the case, ITC is allowed for transportation of goods. So my question is, why there is a separate clause in the AA and why not this is a separate point in the first clause A? That is my question. Probably you will find very interesting. You will find very interesting. Let's see the reply. Question अच्छा है या question अच्छा नहीं है? Whether this question is good or not. Whether this question is good or not. Still, I have seen some participants have not been added in the LinkedIn. So my humble submission, kindly add in the social network, that is LinkedIn profile, not any marketing. No marketing because I'm not providing any teaching other than board of studies. I'm only the teacher at board of studies. So I could not do any marketing. I'm requesting just because you all should be connected with me. Whenever you grow in the future, I would be intimated by way of LinkedIn profile and we could get a chance to meet, might be in lifetime. कभी भी मिल सकते हैं, जिंदगी छोटी है. Question is tricky, question is good. अरे वाह क्या बात है. Tell the answer. मोहम्मद, एक पॉइंट तो पकड़ लिया आपने. 1 point you are correct. Very nice. My question is, why in the clause A they have not added transportation of good as a separate exception, but in the clause AA when I see they have added in the separate exception. Why? Now see the answer. In the clause double A, are they saying vessel and aircraft used for transportation of passengers is fall under the block category? Try to understand. They are only saying vessel and aircraft. Means all vessel and aircraft would be under the block category except below item. But in the clause A, it is saying motor vehicle used for transportation of passenger, transportation of person. It means in the drafting itself, they have blocked transportation of passenger vehicle. It means they have not blocked transportation of goods vehicle in the first clause. Therefore, there is no requirement to add in the separate exception. लेकिन यहां क्या किया इन्होंने, वेसल एंड एयरक्राफ्ट entirely is under the block category. Therefore, they have to mention separately as transportation of goods allowed. Question number 1 का answer, is it clear or not? See, because clause AA covering vessel and aircraft entirely, so they have to add transportation of goods separately. Why not in the first clause? Because they are not saying motor vehicle. They are saying motor vehicle for transportation of person is blocked. It means by default, if it is for goods, it is not covered. It is not blocked. So therefore, the transportation of the goods is not added as a separate exception in the clause A. Is it clear? पहले क्वेश्चन का आंसर मुझे कंफर्म करें. Is it clear? Is it clear? फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन का आंसर इज इट क्लियर? एक बार मुझे आंसर करें, तब मैं क्वेश्चन 2 का रिप्लाई करूंगा. पहला क्वेश्चन क्लियर है, राइट? पहला क्वेश्चन क्लियर है, इज इट करेक्ट? So let me move to the next question. My next question was, why not as point number E? Why it has been added separately? Because this item ka ITC will be allowed only when it is taxable supply. It means it should be the taxable supplies for which you are raising the tax invoice. It should be your outward taxable supply. You are doing the business of transportation of passenger. You are doing the training or navigating. You are imparting the training of the flying that aircraft. You are making the further supply, and this should be your business because it should be a taxable supply. Now, it has been added in the additional separate clause because it can be outward supply or it can be your own transportation of goods. Try to understand. If you are transporting your own goods by your vessel, you purchase the vessel, you transporting your own goods. Is it your further outward taxable supply? Answer would be no. Transportation is not my outward taxable supply because I'm not doing the transportation of outsider. I'm not raising the tax invoice. I'm using the vessel only for movement of my goods. Will the ITC be allowed? Answer is yes. If you use for the further taxable supply or use for your own goods, which is not outward taxable supply, in both the cases, ITC is allowed. Therefore, they have added in the clause 2 instead of point number E. Is it clear? बहुत इंटरेस्ट, दोनों क्लियर हो गया ना? मस्त क्वेश्चन था. आई लाइक्ड इट वेरी वेल. Means sometime if time permit, like because now time permit, so I used to ask this question always. Clear? Any other question from your side? Any other question from your side? Please tell. Any other question from your side? Kindly tell. आज हमारा class almost complete है. Now there is 3-4 minutes are pending. So you can ask any question if you have. बताओ. 514426. Any question you may ask? Sure. ISD. I'll explain. What is the concept of ISD? I'll explain. See, ISD is full form is input service distributor. So you know the concept of distinct person, correct? One pen multiple GST. Let's say one head office is there and there are multiple branches. Branch one is Rajasthan, one is Haryana, one is Kerala, and head office is located in Karnataka. So in the GST, according to section 20, in the GST, according to section 20, there is a concept that if you have any input service, if you have any input service for the benefit of the branches, which invoice has been received at head office. So input service ka invoice is being received at head office. But that invoice was for the benefit of the branches. They are saying according to section 20, this head office has to distribute the credit in the turnover ratio of the relevant branches. So I've given yesterday example that head office has hired one auditor for the audit of all the branches. Auditor is raising the invoice of 1 lakh plus GST. So this GST, because it is input service received from outsider, third is for the benefit of the branches, it will be apportioned in the ratios of turnover ratios of the branches. So ISD is a mechanism by which the credit can be distributed. Credit can be distributed among distinct person only. For this distribution, only input service can be distributed and head office has to take the GST number separately under ISD category. ISD can be more than one. It is not that only one can be the ISD. So I can make my one branch Rajasthan as ISD. Possible. No problem. ISD can distribute the credit of input service only, not goods. If it is goods, then you need to raise the tax invoice. This concept is called as cross charge. Is it clear? Is it clear? Muhammad Abdul, is it clear? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Prerna. Thank you. So thank you for your appreciation. Great. Is it clear, Mohammed Abdul? एक बार कंफर्म करो so that we can complete our today class and we'll meet on the Tuesday with lot of practical problems of ITC, and parallelly I will ask some more question. So you are not stick to the illustration or to the practical problem which I'm discussing. You will have you will be able to revise the entire chapter. But हाँ, 2 क्लास में आप कंप्लीट रहना, you will be able to revise your entire chapter. You will be able to revise your entire chapter of ITC if you attend the class completely and give the answer at the same time when I ask the question. Because if the question is on point number 1, I will ask proviso, exception, explanation, something like that. I will ask relevant part also at the same time. So you will be definitely benefited. Thank you very much. Good night to all of you. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you. अशोक जी, आप आज की क्लास कंप्लीट